Hello, fellow humans. This is Alan Stewart with B&B Yacht Designs. I'm talking to you from my computer at my house where we're stuck like most of you are. And I thought I would do a trip report, a video log trip report that is, because I'm not very good at getting around to writing a trip report, and we're getting a lot of YouTube views lately, so I thought this would be a good way to talk about our trip and how it went. And just so you know, we're all doing okay here in North Carolina, and the shop is running sort of. We have our guy Tom out there who has been living and working on his boat, and he's been able to get out some of our small orders that have come in. I'm working from home, Graham's working from home, and we've actually seen a bit of a spike in plan sales, which is really appreciated. I know everybody's probably stuck at home dreaming about their next project, and we're hard at work on new designs all the time, and we've got projects that were in the works even before the outbreak and before the Everglades Challenge that we're trying to get caught up on. So I'm going to see how this goes. Hopefully I don't have to do too much editing, and talk about our course, our trip on the Everglades Challenge. So at the risk of making this video too long, if you don't know what the Everglades Challenge is, I suggest you head over to bnbyachtdesigns.com and go to articles and click on Watertribe. I've made this page that has links to this great video that Warren Ritchie put together. It's a long video, but it really gives you a good idea of what it's all about, really. And there's also links here to the Watertribe website. The tracking map gives you a brief description of the classes and some links to the required equipment. Quick sidebar here, I'm going to be doing a video of all the stuff that I carry on my PFD pretty soon, that I think will help some people who are starting to get interested in doing more events like Watertribe, but just general sailing, things that everyone should really have on their PFD. And this year was another good race for us, really. We were racing on the Southern Skimmer. This is the Southern Skimmer. Graham designed the Southern Skimmer, which is the EC22. The boat's name is Southern Skimmer, in 2007. And this album here, you can see all the pictures if you go to Everglades Challenge 22 plan on our website. There is a link to this construction album right here. And this is a complete album of Graham's construction of the boat in 2007. This is before Graham had the CNC machine, and so these frames were cut out by hand, and the boat was built very fast. He thought that it would take too long for him to get up to speed on the CNC machine, so he just built this boat from templates. So I don't want to get too sidetracked on this. Maybe this is a good topic for another video. But my dad and I have been doing the Everglades Challenge now for 12 or 13 years. Since 2008 was our first trip together in our Core Sound 20. And for the last 2 years, we've been racing Graham's Southern Skimmer. These are some pictures from this year's event. This was taken at the campground once we got down there, and here we are on the beach. And if you've probably seen the video I put out about Sailor Man, so this was a clip from that video. Quick overview of the Start Beach. Everybody likes to do these Start Beach walk around videos. There's a bunch of them already out there for the EC 2020. There's even one that's a drone video that's pretty cool. So anyway, there we are, set up on the beach. This is our boat. You have to set up above the high tide line, and 2 people maximum have to be able to launch the boat into the water. I posted a video recently of us launching the boat in a previous year, and let me show you that real quick. Actually, this is another thing I was going to show you in a second here. But if you go to the B&B YouTube channel, I've got a bunch of playlists set up. One of them is for the Watertribe, and so I think if you just type in Watertribe, yeah, here you go. You've got all of the videos I've uploaded for Watertribe, and here's an Everglades challenge playlist. So one of these is us launching. Yeah, here, this is it right here. Oh, this is actually the Dawn Patrol. I think I have a launch video for the EC22, but again, I don't want to get too sidetracked. You can look into these. So let me get back to this. So yeah, here we were set up on the start line. This would be the day before the event. The actual day of the event, you may know or not that this year there was a delayed start to the Everglades Challenge due to high winds, and so we didn't actually get going until I think 10:30 or 11, which is normally we start at 7 a.m. So we got off to a late start, and it was very windy, blowing out of the northeast, which was good for the sailboats, but Tampa Bay can get pretty rough. You can even see in this video, that's trees back there, but it's a little lumpy out there, and it was lumpy out there. All the boats left with a reef in the sail, as per recommendation by the chief, or requirement really. And a lot of people opted to, after this photo was taken the morning of the race, they just took their boat off the beach because they opened it up to what they call the Plan B option, which if there's a high wind condition, you can opt to skip starting here and start farther south if you want to. This is not a race in the sense that everyone is being, it's not like a one design race. Some people say, well, that's weird, everybody didn't start the same. You really got to think of it as a challenge, and the people who are really racing to race, they left with each other and they're racing each other. So the people who we consider to be our competition, they left from the beach, and in most cases, with the kayaks and stuff, that was also the case. So that kind of begins our trip here. So this was day one of our spot track, and you can get to this if you want to see our track. Just go to the Watertribe tracker, which again you can get to from here and on our website, and you can choose the event EC 2020, and I chose my name SOS, and show tracks on all waypoints, and that's how I'm looking at this map. These yellow triangles are 10-minute intervals, but that depends on how you have your spot trackers configured. So ours is configured to send out a message in 10-minute intervals. So you can see our track down this way. Again, we had a northeast wind, I meant to say, and a lot of boats go up this way. We like to cut this corner and ride inside the shoreline as close as possible. Sometimes you get slapped by a wave here, but it was not too bad this year. Generally, we wanted to hug the beach because we knew with the northeast wind, it was going to be calmer close to the beach, which it was. And when I say calm, I mean relatively calm. I mean it was still blowing pretty strongly. So this represents our morning, and forgive me, I'm gonna forget times when we came in. I might even just look back on it while we're doing this video. So you can see we were really consistent through here. At one point we tried to put up the spinnaker. It might have been in this region here, but it was too high of a reach to carry it. So the wind was definitely northeast because we were just a little below a beam reach, maybe a beam reach, maybe sometimes a little higher than beam reach. The wind was really shifty, plus or minus 15 degrees, and that was pretty typical of this whole year. So as per the Plan B rules that were enacted the morning of the start, we hit our OK button here just off of the normal checkpoint 1. So normally we would come in here at Stump Pass, cut through here, run up into this channel, and sometimes it's getting dark by this point, and we'll make dinner in this region here, and then come into the marina. If you've never done this stretch before, this little nasty channel can be a real pain in the butt, especially for the sailboats. But you come into here, come in through here, and there's the checkpoint right there. So we didn't have to do any of that this year, which was great. So we just hit the OK message and kept on going. And it was starting to get late here as we were approaching Pine Island Sound, and we had discussed previously on the day, would we go through Pine Island Sound? A lot of years we do go through Pine Island Sound. This here is Pine Island Sound, and our typical route is after we leave the checkpoint, we come past Placida through this bridge, and then we run down Pine Island Sound. And it's usually flatter water. It's a little more challenging navigationally, but what it really does, in my mind, is it sets you up to be closer to Fort Myers Beach on the southern end, because if you go on the outside route, as people have really started to figure out, this is a rough patch right here. This can be, especially with an east or northeast wind, this can be really choppy. The year we did the trimaran in 2012, we took the trimaran behind Sanibel Island, and we got to this point. The waves were so steep that we could not make any progress, and we had to turn tail and run up Captiva, and we came back into Pine Island Sound and ended up doing this stretch here. So this can be a really nasty spot, and so that's what would push us into Pine Island Sound. We decided to go outside because we knew this was going to be an area where we could get some good sleep, and we knew the backside of the beach was going to be really flat, and we just figured, we wanted to take the fastest route, and this is the fastest route. And so getting back to here, this OK message here probably would have been when we were changing into warmer clothes. It was starting to get dark by this point. Let's see, there we go, 7:21 p.m. So it was already pretty dark here, and we had decided we were going to stay on the outside. And I found a little cut through here on the north side of Boca Grande so that we wouldn't have to run all the way out here. And so we came into here kind of not really knowing what to expect, and the current was flooding in and the wind was pushing out, so that made for some choppy conditions. And right along here there was some standing waves that we punched through. I remember 3 big standing waves, bam, 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 right here. And once we were there, we just turned down into here, and then this was a wild ride, this stretch here, because we were going into the current with the wind, surfing a lot faster than the GPS said because of the water coming towards us. But I think even still the GPS got us up to like 13 knots or something like that. So finally we got around this point, and it really flattened out. This area here was nice and flat. And I think one of us went to sleep. I think my dad took a nap in this stretch for a little bit, and then we kind of got a little closer to shore here. Apparently, we're getting into the stretch of the night where you were thinking about maybe we should stop for sleeping, and it's hard to think straight. But again, this was very flat and calm. In fact, if you got too close to shore, the wind would die out on you, so you really didn't want to be much closer than this, or you wouldn't have much breeze. And finally, we decided we were too tired, and we, not knowing what to expect out here, we decided we would do this in daylight. So this is where we anchored. 10:20 p.m. we put the anchor down. And I remember also after we anchored, trying to get set up for the night, I started getting a little seasick because it was a little rolly here, and being in the cabin, I just wasn't feeling that good. But we did manage to get to sleep. We were going to sleep longer, but I remember waking up and looking at the track and seeing that we'd been passed by Andy Man. At the time, I think it was about 1:30 in the morning, and he was somewhere out here, and I was like, all right, well, we're not going to keep sleeping. So we got up, and I got my dry suit on. I was only, when I'm sleeping, I'm fine, seasick-wise, but as soon as I got up and started to put my clothes on, started feeling seasick, and so threw up over the side here real quick, but rallied and got the boat moving. Once the boat's moving, I was fine. But so let's see, to tell me what time this is. This would have been about 2 in the morning, I think. Doesn't tell me what time that is. So anyway, we got going, and this turned out to be not too bad. We were doing this stretch, and I think the winds, generally speaking, were really dying down at nighttime. I don't remember this being particularly windy, but we didn't shake out a reef just because it was dark. And I sailed this patch. My dad was sleeping, and right about in here was when I took the video that. Let's see if I can show you that video. So when I took this video here. So this is off of. Oops, sorry about that. So this is Marco down here, and this is the sun coming up in the Gulf, and so you can see we had full sail at this point. So I'd already taken the reefs out, and so Sanibel is back here. So it took us all morning to get down to that point, and I think this probably was when I shook the reef out right here. We were actually planning to go in Big Marco, which is this inlet right here, which we've done in the past, because I thought it would help cut this corner a little more. But we got to this point here and realized we had passed it, and I didn't want to turn back because the wind was this way, and I didn't want to tack up into there. So that is actually how we decided to do Caxambas. This is Caxambas Pass here. A lot of people didn't do it this year. I'm not sure why. It wasn't that bad. We did have a little bit of current against us, but I mean, you can see these are 10-minute tracks, so it was only 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, an hour to get through there. And going around this to me is a long route, and you can see we made this in one tack. Anybody who went around, we're tacking up into here. So I think this was a good choice. You do get swirly winds here just behind these skyscrapers, and we saw that this year, of course. But you just kind of get through it, and it's not too gusty. You just have to be prepared to be sailing on one tack, and then all of a sudden you're not on that tack anymore. But we went through here with full sail, if I recall. And yeah, we had full sail up through here. And so this is now day 2. And let's just get a time spot here, 1 o'clock. So I remember we were checking the tides like crazy, because we were really concerned about getting into Indian Key with the tide, and we were gonna hit it right at high tide, which is not ideal, because if you're a little late, it starts going out, and then but you do have a lot of water, which is definitely what we wanted. If you can possibly do this in high tide, you really should. But you can see we made good time out to here, and this okay message we took after our capsize. So yeah, we did capsize this year, and here's a little perspective. So here's checkpoint 2, Chokoloskee. This is the first time we've ever capsized any boat in the Everglades Challenge, and it was the EC22. And what happened was we were coming out this way, and this is Indian Key here, this is Indian Key Pass. And so normally we come in through here and we work our way up this channel, and that leads you up to here where you cut across. And the wind was just absolutely howling from the northeast. This channel here had steady 27 knots easily with gusts. So we came out along here with full sail up because we were still in the lee of these islands, which were really cutting down the wind. And as soon as we got to here, it was like a wind tunnel. And the guys on the Sea Scow were up ahead of us. In fact, when I was here, I saw them headed in this way. And eventually they pulled off and dropped sail to wait it out. But we were coming along here full sail and poked our nose out into here, and the wind just hit us in the face, and we tried to ride it out. Managed to tack the boat and get back around here to the backside of this stop keys here, where we got some shelter from the wind, and that's where we capsized. We had actually already started to reef the boat, and I was up on the foredeck, my dad was in the cockpit, and we just got hit with a sideways gust, and the boat went straight over. And so I have a video of an EC-22 capsizing thanks to Joe and Sally. So I'll show you how to get to that if you want to watch the whole thing. Just go to B&B Yacht Designs, which you can get to. I'll do it from their website. If you're at the website, just click on the B&B Yacht Designs YouTube channel, and then just in the search bar type in EC-22, and you'll see the EC-22 playlist. So this is a playlist of all the videos I have of the EC-22, and most of these are Joe and Sally on their sailing trips because they've got the only other EC-22 that we know about. So definitely check out some of those videos. And Joe did this great Capsize and Recovery video of his EC-22 where he pulls it over. And the nice thing about the EC-22 is the cabin and the tall mast prevent the boat from turtling, which Joe found out. Graham already knew, but Joe verified with his boat as well. So there she is on her side, and the way you right this boat, because you can't reach the centerboard, you have to climb the boat up the mast, and Joe does that here later in the video. That's Joe's son, I believe, climbing the cockpit, and even with him climbing the cockpit, the boat has enough buoyancy not to turtle. Obviously, you don't want to hang out on the mast. You want to get up and over, but you can see she's still stable on her side there. And now he's on the centerboard, so he's got it. The boat is really light, and you can see he's already starting to get the mast out of the water without even really trying. And as soon as he goes to the tip of the board, she comes up. This is exactly how we experienced it, except that I was already on the foredeck, and so as she capsized, I was able to just step onto the centerboard. Actually, I mean, I worked my way along the side, but it happened fairly slowly, and I had enough time to shimmy down the side of the hull onto the centerboard, so I didn't actually get wet until I righted the boat, and then of course I was in the water. So we had a cockpit full of water. We threw the anchor out, and I think we pulled the sails down, bailed out the boat, put both reefs in, both sails, and that's how we continued on from here. So this OK message would have been after we righted the boat, but before we got going again. So here we are at 1:04 p.m., and this would have been on Sunday. So this was probably the hardest part of the race for me, continually tacking through here into very strong winds, high likelihood of a second capsize. But we managed to make it through, and we had about 1.5 knots to 2 knots of current pulling us in, which was really great. That's probably the only reason we made it in. And even though this channel is winding, you find that the wind just seems to follow the channel through the trees, so it's always dead ahead. This stretch here was particularly hard. We could just lay this, but not quite, so we'd be coming up into here, and this isn't on the spot track for some reason, but we got to this point, and you're tacking, and you're just getting over to here. Actually, this is one of the most dangerous spots on this route, I think. It's this spot where there's this island in the middle. We were actually coming up this way tacking, and when you get close to the trees, the wind dies, And when the wind dies, you lose your steerage because the current's pulling you this way, but the wind is you lose your steerage basically. And so we got into here, tried to tack, missed the tack, but all the while you're being pulled this way. And we actually got the bow hung up in this mangroves. The boat spun around, and we just narrowly made it out of there without becoming a giant strainer it's essentially a river. Feels like a river. It feels like you're sailing in a river, this whole thing, this whole channel here. So we made it out to about here, and from this point we tacked, and we had to throw in, I think, 3 tacks to get across. And the only way we were able to get across here was we were doing it at high tide. There would have just been no way. We would have had to anchor, wait it out till the next high tide, somewhere in here or here. Finally, we made it to checkpoint 2. And let's see, my OK message for there, 3:52 p.m. And we were really tired, and also it was really hot. It's hard to stay here because there's a lot of concrete, and so if it's a bright sunny day, the lock boxes over here you're walking across, it's just really hot. Andy Mann and Nate Dogg and the Highlander, they were already here, but they were thinking they weren't going to go on for a while because they had a little bit of a head start on us, so they'd already checked the weather and seen that the forecast for Florida Bay was 30 knots for the next couple of days, 2-3 days. We also checked the weather and decided that we would leave on the high tide as opposed to wait, because if you wait, you're less likely to keep going. And we wanted to stay on the boat if we could. We wanted to finish, and so we were here for I don't know, maybe an hour. So we left on the outgoing high tide, which is ideal. Even still, this stretch here is really hard. We were dragging the rudder and the dagger board pretty much this whole way here. I don't know why the track starts there, but we went this way, hugging around here. We have this in our GPS, and I'm basically just head down with the GPS when we're going through here because this doesn't look that hard, but when you're out there, this is just ridiculous. There's tiny little flags here and there, but it's impossible to tell which way to go. I almost can't even tell you the way that we went, but I think it was this way, following this channel, this way, and then you kind of turn. Actually, you know what? I'm going to get it wrong even, so yeah, I think it's this. Somewhere in here I might be messing that up, but in any case, we got through here. I'm not sure why it shows us there. I don't think we ever were there. We anchored here, so that means we would have come up this way. And a little bit, yeah, like I said, I can't even tell which way we went. This looks strange to me, but I think we must have come in through here and turned here. There is a bit of a Z-bend somewhere, so maybe that's this, and then we ended up over here. In any case, our plan was to camp in the pass, Rabbit Key Pass, which we did behind this island for the night. The boat was stopped for about 10 hours. This OK message here is 6:35 p.m., so that's when we stopped. And I don't know if I have one when we started going again, but you can see there's where we camped. It was a really nice anchorage. We didn't have any mosquitoes, and the best thing about it was I could still get 4G reception to Chokoloskee from here. So in the morning, we woke up and I was able to get another weather forecast. And that updated weather forecast Monday morning showed that the high wind predictions for Florida Bay had actually shifted by about 24 hours. And the bay now looked crossable on Wednesday. That was really encouraging because we were worried that we wouldn't have enough food to get to the finish line if we were going to finish like on Thursday, because we didn't bring that much food. And Yeah, we could have restocked in Flamingo, but we were also sort of just discussing with each other, did we want to be on the boat that long? But we decided to keep on going. If we were going to stop, we would have had to go back through here, because once you leave Chokoloskee, there's really no. I mean, look at it. There's nothing out here. So, and it would suck to make somebody drive to Flamingo to come get you. It's really out of the way, as you can see here. So we shoved off in the morning, and a few boats had passed us in the night without even realizing it. One of them was Graybeard and Chef Ramen on their 17 Mark III, which we found out later that day. So we shoved off here, and I remember I think we had a reef in the sail, and we were expecting this to be pretty easy sailing, and it turned out it was just basically a beat all day. Well, not all day, but this whole section here was a beat. I know it looks like a nice reach, but it was not nice. It was horrible. It was on the wind. It was wet. It was gusty. It was shifty, plus or minus 30-degree shifts. So, I would plug in my GPS coordinate for Shark River, and half the time we were 30 degrees below it, half the time we were 30 degrees above it, which makes you wonder if you're doing the right thing. Are you too far from land? But at the same time, this looks like a short distance, but it's pretty far, and you can't get any closer than this because the bottom's just too shallow here. So we decided that around this point here, it was getting so gusty. At one point, we pulled the mainsail down. That might have been actually right about here somewhere. We just pulled the mainsail down because even with double reefed everything, we just couldn't. We didn't have enough meat on the rail, basically. And with the mainsail down, these gusts came through that were so strong I could barely keep the bow into the wind. Finally, the gusts. We just put the mainsail back up after the gusts passed, and at that point we decided we were going to throw out the anchor here. And just wait, because it was really just too windy. It was ridiculous. But we got to this point, and it wasn't quite as windy, and we were feeling a little better. So we decided to make it to right here, the Shark River entrance. And the plan was to anchor here and take a break. We got to here, so this is 3:50 p.m. on Monday. Got to here and had some lunch, and actually just hove to. So this section here, we were hove to and had some lunch, and the wind was calm and nice, and we decided we didn't need to anchor. We took a little break, got some food, and just kept on going. This was now a nice deep reach, and it was very enjoyable, this stretch here. Stark contrast to the earlier part of the day. Looking at the forecast, we knew we weren't going to get to Flamingo on Monday night, so we knew we could probably get here, maybe here. This is Middle Cape here. This is in fact where we ended up camping, although it's not shown on the tracker for some reason. We lost a lot of the tracking data, but we got to I think this is Northwest Cape. We got here, and there was a bunch of tribers. Tribers parked right here, and I didn't take any pictures, but we pulled off the beach and said hi to them. There was a bunch of them. The wind riders were there. I think maybe the Knacker catamaran. I think Choppy was there. Sorry if I forgot you. But we took the time there to pull down our code 0 and just stowed it. Also the bowsprit, I think we probably left the bowsprit on, but we took the sail down just to reduce windage because we knew we weren't going to use the code 0 again. And I think we walked around the point here to check it out, and decided that it looked not too bad. Actually, I don't think we walked around the point here. That was East Cape. So we got back in the boat and shoved off. Actually, we hit the beach and forgot the bailer was open. So when we were ready to shove off, we had to bail for a few minutes. So we shoved off, and everybody watched us go because they weren't sure that we would make it, because they had been watching the wind here just howling all day. And at this point, the wind was really east. And so to get around this point, you can imagine with an east wind, it's on the nose. So we were actually able to make this in one tack. And it was very windy, very gusty, but it wasn't that bad. And here's a picture of us landing on East Cape. You can see Northwest Cape way in the background here. And so we pulled off here with the intention of spending the night. So we were drying out our gear, and lo and behold, there was Graybeard and Chef Ramen there, pulled up on the beach. They had obviously gotten there a few hours ahead of us because there they are, high and dry. And we arrived, I think, just before low tide. So said hi to them. We took a walk out onto the point here at East Cape, which was really nice. This is actually the first time we've been on East Cape, because normally we don't bother to stop, but it was really beautiful. And these guys were doing really well. We were so happy to see them here. And they were actually having some issues with their stove, so we let them borrow our Jetboil. And that might have been the first hot meal they'd had on the trip. And also, they got to charge a phone on our boat because I think they're having a battery issue. It was just a lot of fun to spend some time with them on the beach. And then we shoved off and anchored for the night there at East Cape. And this was some pictures from our walk out onto the East Cape there. And while we were out there, the NACRA passed us, and I got a video of them going around East Cape with a good reef in the sail, and they got smaller and smaller. The wind had really abated by this time. This was right after sunset, and so they made it into Flamingo early in the morning. So we decided to we camped on Middle Cape, and we checked the tides, and we decided we were going to get up at, I think, 4 a.m. or maybe, no, we decided we were going to get up at midnight. We got up at midnight. I'm going to switch over to the spot tracker page because we lost some data here on the Watertribe tracker. If you want to see this, let's see. Here you go. I'll put this in the description of the video if you want to see our actual track points on this side. But here we were on Middle Cape, camped, and like I said, we set off at midnight. So there's 12:01 a.m. And this was a really easy run. We were sailing easily, light wind, full sail with current pulling us because we had timed the current rising to Flamingo, and it was an east wind, so we did have to throw in a few tacks here, but it's sort of east northeast, so you can kind of see between these two, east northeast. This is actually a lot of tacking in here, which you can't see, but we made it to Flamingo at 4 a.m. and we were in and out of there real fast. I can't seem to find a satellite view of this route, but this is the traditional Murray-Clive route that we took. And keep in mind, this was early morning. This would have been Tuesday morning, I think. So this would have been Saturday, anchored here. This would have been Sunday morning here, and then this would have been Monday. So yeah, we're on Tuesday, and we took the Murray-Clive route. Like I said, the Watertribe tracker for some reason missed some of this data, but it picks up back here. We did some nice tacks in here, At this point, we were still full sail with an east wind, of course, and we knew we had a long beat ahead of us, but we didn't realize how hard it was going to be. Right about here, the wind started building. We were full sail, as I recall, up to this point. Maybe we put a reef in here, I can't remember. But at some point, we ended up putting in a reef. I think it was here. And then we put in another reef, and then we put in another reef. And from then on, it was just a real slog. One of those slogs that you're just so frustrated and ready to get it over with. And there's these coral cuts that you have to go through, and they're all just right on the edge of pinching for an east wind. Here we are, 11:46 a.m., and always through here you're calculating, am I going to make it in time for people to be on the beach to see me finish? Am I going to make it to Key Largo in daylight? But really, you just do the best you can. And I thought I would try to take a shortcut here because I really was not looking forward to doing this cut here. And I thought maybe I could make this tack and then attack here through Shell Key Channel. And I got to here and I just couldn't get around this spot. It was too high to point, and gave up in disgust. I was really pissed off about this point here, and I wasn't looking where I was going. Almost hit a channel marker. That was a low point, and wasted 20 minutes, 30 minutes, ending up having to sail this anyway. But we were making pretty good progress upwind. These are 10 minute marks, so really we were making good progress. We were just ready to be finished at this point, and at least it was daylight. This is another really crappy spot. There's lots of power boats coming through here. There's no wind in this channel. Cowpens cut, yeah. I hate this channel here. But it was pointed out to me later that there's this over here, which is an alternative that's really good. So maybe I could have done that. I see this now, but I don't remember seeing that at the time. But anyway, we took the ICW route. Just a lot of wind. East wind, strong, 25 knots all day long, really strong. Just a real slog. Finally, this is kind of the last kind of turn to the home stretch. I consider this to be the home stretch. This is the stretch leading up to the cut when you make it into Buttonwood Sound. Technically, I guess this is the home stretch. But right about here, we were still double reefed, and I was sick of it because the closer you get to somewhere, the lighter the wind gets. And so you're 3 miles out doing 3 knots, then you're 2 miles out doing 2 knots. I just cannot stand that. And so here I shook the reefs out, and we were full sail. And it was a little gusty for full sail, but I wanted to get going. So here you can see our next point's way down here. So we went from this kind of tacking, that kind of tacking angle, and we gained about 15 degrees on our tacking angle with the full sail, extra power in the main, and just blasted this line through here. And I think we had to do 2 tacks to the finish. And so let's see, there's our finish. And I got an OK message at 5:44 p.m., which we were so happy to be there and make it in time for dinner, in time for people to see us. I really feel for the guys that come in the middle of the night, and I try to stay up and meet as many of them as I can because I know how much it sucks to come in the middle of the night. You can't go out to dinner. No one's there to see you. If you're coming in the middle of the night, if you can at all help it, just anchor out here, sleep one more night on the boat, come in when everybody's there to see you, and you can go out to dinner. It's a much nicer finish for you, especially if it's your first year. Make it a memorable one, for what it's worth. So yeah, Florida Bay remained elusive for us this year. I know a lot of people were able to get through there, even the same day that we did, I think, but certainly the next day they did. And we were the first Class 4 boat to finish. Correct me if I'm wrong. but I'm pretty sure we were the first class ward boat to finish. I know that Two Beers were way ahead of us. Two Beers and More Sailed in the Tampa Bay 22. They were already in Flamingo well ahead of us, but they had another race commitment that they couldn't get out of, and so they had to end their trip there. So I mean, nobody likes to win by default, but we're happy to get in when we did, and we had a fast boat. So I think that's gonna about cover it. Again, this is a way for me to share our trip experience with everyone. We didn't have anything really go wrong other than our capsize. The gear worked good. There's always things you want to change on the boat that you forget about until next time, and that was certainly the case for us this year. If you have any questions, put them in the comments and I'll gladly answer them. Here's a picture of us at the finish line. So you can see we finished with we finished with a reef in each sail, but yeah, we had a lot more reefs than that earlier in the day. So yeah, let me know if you have any questions and how this worked. Shout out to the other B&B sailors that finished this year, and try not to make this a really drag out video, but congrats to Andy Man. They were coming in the next day, I believe. Graybeard and Chef Ramen finished the next day as well, I believe. And SpongeBob, he did really well this year, and some others that I saw finishing. So yeah, I'm gonna stop it there, and hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, just let me know.